What if the biggest joke in music history was played on all of us for over 60 years by a woman in a blonde wig and rhinestone jacket? For decades, the world saw Dolly Parton as a sweet, bubbly, slightly ditzy country singer, a backwoods Barbie with a quick wit and an impossibly tiny waist. But that persona, the one the world fell in love with, was a character, a carefully crafted illusion designed to distract you from what was really going on. This isn't the story of a beloved country star. This is the story of how a genius businesswoman built a multi-million-dollar empire by convincing everyone she was just a dumb blonde, all while hiding a life of brutal poverty, bitter betrayals, and shocking secrets that would have broken anyone else. Before the stage lights and the tour buses, Dolly's story began in the bleak, unforgiving cold of a one-room shack in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. When she speaks of being poor, it's a level of hardship that's hard to truly comprehend. The Parton family, 2 parents and 12 children, were crammed into a dilapidated cabin with no electricity and no running water. In the biting cold of winter, Dolly recalled sharing a single bed with 3 or 4 of her siblings, not for comfort, but for the shared body heat they needed just to keep from freezing. But the harshest reality of this existence wasn't the cold or the hunger, it was the tragedy. At just 9 years old, Dolly was given responsibility for her newborn baby, brother Larry. But in the unforgiving conditions of their poverty, Larry passed away just 4 days after his birth. The loss shattered young Dolly, leaving a scar of guilt and grief that would fuel a relentless, lifelong drive to escape the mountains and never ever be that powerless again. When she finally fled to Nashville the day after high school graduation, she met the man who would become the greatest mystery of her life. For nearly 60 years, Dolly Parton was married to a ghost. His name was Carl Dean, and for decades, fans and tabloids alike had one burning question: did he even exist? The story of their meeting is legendary. Her first day in the city, standing outside the wishy-washy laundromat when a handsome guy in a pickup truck flirted with her. They married in secret 2 years later, with only her mother as a witness because her record label feared a husband would ruin her image. And then Carl vanished. He attended exactly one industry event with her in 1966, hated every second of it, and told her on the way home, "Dolly, I want you to have everything you want, but don't you ever ask me to go to another one of these damn things again." And he meant it. For the next 58 years, he was a complete enigma, fueling wild speculation that he was a myth, a PR stunt. But the truth was far more masterful. Dolly used his invisibility as a shield, creating a fortress around her private life that the chaos of fame could never penetrate. It was the first piece of her brilliantly constructed puzzle. Every star has a mentor, but few have one who tried to financially chain them down. Porter Wagoner, a rhinestone-studded country king, hired Dolly for his popular TV show and became her gateway to fame. But her debut was a disaster. The audience openly booed her, chanting for her predecessor. It was a brutal rejection, but Porter saw her talent. Soon, they were a beloved duo. However, as her solo star began to eclipse his, the partnership soured into a toxic possessiveness. He saw her as his property. When she finally decided to leave, he hit her with a bombshell. A lawsuit for $3 million in 1979, claiming breach of contract and demanding a percentage of her earnings for years to come. It was a staggering betrayal, but Dolly's response was pure genius. Before the lawsuit, she walked into his office and sang him a song she'd written as her resignation, "I Will Always Love You." It was a heartfelt goodbye, but it was also a brilliant business move that would later make her a fortune. As Dolly was struggling under the weight of Porter's lawsuit, the biggest star on the planet, Elvis Presley, wanted to record "I Will Always Love You." Dolly was ecstatic, but there was a catch. Elvis's manager demanded 5% of the publishing rights. Dolly was faced with an impossible choice: give up half of her most personal song to the king or walk away. She spent the night crying. Then, in a move that shocked the industry, she said no. Everyone told her she was insane for throwing away millions. But by refusing to bow to the king, Dolly became a queen. Years later, Whitney Houston's cover would become one of the biggest selling singles of all time, earning Dolly an estimated $10 million in royalties from that one recording alone. She turned a painful betrayal into a financial masterpiece, proving that even when her heart was breaking, her business mind was working overtime. While Dolly was projecting an image of pure joy, her private world was collapsing. In the early 1980s, after the massive success of the movie 9 to 5, she hit her darkest period. She was suffering from endometriosis, a painful condition that, after she collapsed on stage, led to a partial hysterectomy at just 36 years old, ending her dream of ever having her own children. The emotional fallout was catastrophic. She plunged into a deep depression, later admitting she engaged in binge eating, putting on 50 pounds, and had an affair of the heart that left her riddled with guilt. It was a side of Dolly the world never saw. In a shockingly raw confession, she revealed it got so bad that she found herself staring at the gun she kept on her nightstand. The only thing that stopped her was her little dog, Popeye, tapping his paws on the bed, a sound she believed was a sign from God. That moment forced her to rebuild herself from the inside out, far away from the public eye. For decades, one of the most persistent rumors about Dolly is that she's secretly covered in tattoos. Her signature long sleeves, the story goes, hide full sleeves of ink. Once again, Dolly has masterfully controlled the narrative. While she denies having full sleeves, she has admitted to having small, tasteful tattoos for a very specific reason. She says they are delicate, pastel-colored flowers, butterflies, and beehives placed to cover up scar tissue. After her health crisis, she didn't like the look of certain scars, so instead of hiding them, she transformed them into something beautiful. It's a perfect metaphor for her life, taking something painful and imperfect and turning it into a piece of art that is entirely on her own terms. Most people know Dolly the singer, and many know Dolly the theme park owner, but almost no one knows about Dolly the secret Hollywood mogul. In the 1980s, she co-founded a production company, $Sand Productions. Their most shocking and successful project had nothing to do with her. The company was responsible for the cult classic TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's right, Dolly Parton was an uncredited executive producer on one of the most iconic supernatural dramas of the 90s. And when Whitney Houston's royalties brought her what she called mailbox money, she made a powerful and deliberate investment. She took a significant portion of that money and invested it in a Nashville shopping center in a predominantly Black neighborhood to honor Whitney and the community. Her empire is vast, from the Dollywood Park, which has an eagle sanctuary and calming rooms for children with autism, to dinner theaters and resorts. She proved the dumb blonde persona was the ultimate misdirection, allowing her to build a massive business portfolio while the world was distracted by the hair. Dolly's image is built on being universally loved, a figure so warm she transcends politics. But in 2005, she found herself in the crosshairs of controversy. She wrote the song Traveling Through for the movie Transamerica, a film about a transgender woman. The song earned her an Oscar nomination, but it also brought her death threats from extremist groups outraged by her support for the film's subject matter. For an artist who so carefully avoided alienating her audience, it was a defining moment. But Dolly didn't back down. She performed the song proudly at the Academy Awards, standing by her belief that everyone has the right to be who they are. It wasn't a new position. She had been a quiet but firm ally of the LGBTQ+ community for decades, hosting Gay Day at Dollywood. The controversy revealed a core of steel beneath the sequins, proving her kindness wasn't just a performance, it was a principle. So who is Dolly Parton? She is the world's most successful contradiction. She's the woman who wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day. She's the business mogul who produced Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the philanthropist who has donated over 200 million books to children. She's the survivor who pulled herself back from the brink and the strategist who turned a bitter betrayal into a lifelong income stream. For more than half a century, she let us think she was a simple country girl, a joke we were all in on. But the real joke was on anyone who ever dared to underestimate her. The woman behind the wigs wasn't just playing a character, she was running the entire show.